Hello and welcome to a new video review, this time about the ZEISS Long Range Precision S5 Riflescope with the magnification from 5 to 25 by 56. ZEISS is one of the biggest names in this industry, and ZEISS produces all sorts of optical products. ZEISS is also one of the oldest optical manufacturers which still exists, and it was founded in 1846 in Jena, and the company started only with microscopes, but 1892 they produced their first riflescope. In 1907 they produced also their first riflescope with variable magnification with 3 times zoom. The headquarters of ZEISS is in Oberkochen in south of Germany, but the riflescopes and all of their sports optics products are made in Wetzlar, which is the headquarters, let's say, of sports optics manufacturing in Germany. The riflescope I have here in front of me is completely new. It is also the first focal plane riflescope from ZEISS, and it's very interesting to see now that such companies starting to produce riflescopes for sports shooting, like Leica, now ZEISS. So we really get very interesting products and the competition on the market gets really big. Now the riflescope I have in front of me, it's the Long Range Precision LRP S5 with a magnification from 5 to 25, and it has a 56 millimeters objective lens. The outside diameter of the objective is 62 millimeters. If you want to mount a clip-on night vision or thermal device, the scope, as I said, is the first product from ZEISS for the sport shooting or tactical style shooting. It was introduced in 2022, and currently this riflescope is the most expensive riflescope produced from ZEISS. It has a 5 times zoom factor magnification, and as I said, the reticle in this riflescope is positioned in the first focal plane. The construction, it's completely made out of metal with only rubberized part on the ocular. The scope is designed for use on all calibers, so 50 BMG included, and it is totally waterproof and also filled with nitrogen, so you will get no internal fogging even in very cold or hot environment. The temperature range of this riflescope is from -25 up to 56 degrees plus Celsius, so really a big range where you can use the scope. It is waterproof up to 4 meters, and the size of the scope is almost 40 centimeters, so 396 millimeters. So it is one of the bigger scopes currently on the market. It is very in the middle of the weight range if you compare it to other riflescopes with a similar magnification. It has 1030 grams. The main tube diameter is 34 millimeters. The scope is completely made in Germany, as you can see here. It has 10 years of warranty, and yeah, it's a true tactical mil riflescope. The reticle is positioned in the first focal plane, and you get the option to order a mil or MOA version of this scope. So if you choose to buy a mil version, you will also get the mil reticle. With the MOA and MOA version, you get a MOA reticle. The reticles are Christmas tree style. I can show you here. Here is the mil version of the reticle with all the reticle subtensions also in the manual, and here is the MOA version of the reticle. So because they are in first focal plane, they change when you change the magnification, they get thicker or thinner, but you can use the reticle for bullet drop compensation at all magnifications, but also for calculating the distance. The reticle, the middle part of the reticle is illuminated, and I have to say it is one of the best illuminations on the market. It goes very low with the illumination, so you can use it in complete darkness, and the illumination will be very not bright, so it does not interfere when you aim at the target. But the illumination is also daytime bright, so really bright illumination which you can use also on a bright sunny day, which is quite unique for a 5-25 Riflescope. The illumination has an auto turn off feature, so if the Riflescope is in a non-shooting position like this, up or down, the Riflescope shuts the illumination automatically off to save the battery life. For the illumination, you need only one CR2032 battery, which is located here, like this. It's very easy also to replace. And for turning the illumination on, you have to pull this part of the turret out, like this. When the turret is inside, the illumination is off. When the turret is outside, you can make your illumination adjustment. The illumination adjustment is stepless, so you have no steps of the illumination. When you turn this direction, the illumination gets brighter, and other side it gets darker. Now on the same turret is also the parallax adjustment, as you can see here, and it goes from 25 meters all the way to infinity. The parallax adjustment is pretty stiff. It is quite difficult to adjust, but you have a really big range for adjustment, so you can very precisely fine-tune your parallax to your target. So for very precise shots or great details, you can really easy adjust the parallax to your target. Now for the ocular part, it is a European style eyepiece, so you can quickly make your adjustments. The eyepiece, it's also pretty stiff, which I really like, because you don't need to change this when you set your Riflescope to your eyes, and when it's stiff you cannot make any adjustments when you're on the range, or when you put it out of the bag without noticing. Like this, it's perfect when it's so stiff. Then the magnification ring goes from 25 to 5 times and approximately 180 degree, and it's very smooth. It is also very easy to rotate. It's not very stiff like parallax or the eyepiece. Now the main tube is 34 millimeters, and now for the turrets, which is also quite unique, let's say, about this scope, because this Riflescope features 40.7 mil of travel, which makes 140 MOA, which is for a 34 millimeters main tube Riflescope really a lot. So for ELR shooting or 22 ELR, it's perfect. You can really go extreme ranges with such a big elevation range. The clicks on this model I have here are in milliradian, so 0.1 click, which is exactly 1 centimeter at 100 meters. And the clicks, as you can hear, are very audible. They are also nicely tactile, but they also go pretty easy to rotate. So so they are not very stiff. It is also, this scope was also designed for PRS style shooting, and that's why it's such a high turret, so the user can really easily grab the whole turret and make quick adjustments. This turret features more tactile clicks, but ZEISS named it differently, so now they are more pronounced clicks, and more tactile clicks come from Schmidt & Bender, which, as you can hear, makes every 10th click harder, so you can count your clicks even in complete darkness. You just count your more pronounced clicks, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It's very easy to count the louder or harder clicks, and when you make the adjustment, let's say 63 clicks, you go just 6 hard clicks and then 3 additional clicks. Then you don't need to look on the turret or make light, let's say, in complete darkness. The turret has no turn indicator, only lines under the turret, and in one revolution of the turret you get 12 mil of travel. I have to say, personally, I don't like this. I would prefer 10 or even 15 mil of travel in one revolution, because it's much easier to operate. Let's say when you're in the third revolution, you have to calculate where you are currently at. It's not so easy as with round numbers. But all in all, the turret is a multi-turn turret. So you can see here second revolution, third revolution, and you have also a fourth revolution for all in all 41 mil of travel. You see also that the turret goes upwards, and now you can really easily see in which rotation you are currently at. The turret features also a zero stop feature, so when you come to the zero, it stops exactly on the zero. Zeroing is also very easy. You just make your adjustment where you're currently at on the range, and you just loosen these two screws, this one and on the opposite side, and then you just make your adjustment. You have to push the turret down and go to zero and tighten these screws back in. Like this, you're zeroed, and also the zero stop is set when you make this adjustment. For zeroing, you need only this key, which is with the Riflescope, and you have 2 dimensions. One is for the elevation turret and one is for the Windage turret. Now the Windage turret clicks are also very tactile, I mean very audible, but also tactile, but not as tactile like let's say the Schmidt & Bender has more tactile clicks, or the new Steiner M7X Riflescope have more tactile clicks. But for sports shooting, they are really great. Maybe you can hear the clicks have a different sound depending on which direction you go. And on the Windage turret, you have this locking function, which locks in any adjustment, so you can lock wherever you need. And you have on the turret 6 mil of travel in each direction, but you can go even further, all the way back to the zero. So all in all, you can make 12 mil adjustment in each direction. Normally I don't like if the turret goes further, that you can come to the different numbers, let's say, but because this turret goes to zero but not further, it's easy for the user that he knows, now on this direction the clicks do not go further, I have to go the entire revolution back to zero. Because some riflescope manufacturers have multi-turn turrets, which I really don't like, because you can make an error of a whole revolution. With this scope it's almost impossible. So the locking function works perfectly, and for zeroing you have to unlock, because when you see here inside there is a small hole which is obstructed when the turret is locked. So you have to unlock, and then you can make your zeroing. Now for the optical performance, as you could imagine from a company like ZEISS, the image quality is on the highest level, the resolution is perfect, edge-to-edge quality is also perfect, and what I want to mention is the scope has over 40 mil of travel, but also on the 5 times magnification the image is completely round. So let's say on the smallest or on the biggest elevation, so there is no image cut off like on some riflescope, which is really quite unique. There are not many manufacturers on the market which have such image at the lowest or on the highest elevation. The lens diameter is 56 on the objective, so you get really a lot of light captured, and the light transmission through the riflescope is 90%. So for lower light conditions you have a really bright picture. The field of view at 5 times zoom is 7.5 meters, and at the biggest magnification it's 1.5 meters, which is pretty average, I would say. The scope has no tunneling effect, and the eye relief is 90 millimeters, so you can really use it on high or strong recoiling rifles, and you are still safe behind the scope. The eye relief is also very forgiving. You can go a little bit further or near the riflescope and you will still get the perfect picture. Now for the eye box, I have to say it is not perfect, especially in the 25 times magnification. You really have to be pretty centered behind the riflescope. I would say this is a little bit of a downside for such a expensive riflescope, but it is still quite easy to use. It is not, I would say, terrible, but compared to some other riflescopes on the market, the eye box could be a bit better. Now, what do you get in the box with the riflescope? First of all, you get a cleaning cloth, then this zeroing tool, a battery for the illumination, bikini style lens protection, which I don't really like. I would prefer flip-up covers. The user guide, which is in English, German, France and Spanish, and you really have a lot of information in this manual, so also reticle, subtensions and everything else you need for the scope. And lastly, some additional safety information about the scope. Okay, now what are the main competitors against this ZEISS? First of all, I would say the Kales 5-25 by 56 DLR. The Kales is shorter, lighter in weight, and it has also a bit bigger field of view, and you can choose the windage on the left or the right side. It is also about 700 euros cheaper than the ZEISS, but I have to say the optical quality of the ZEISS is better in my opinion. The resolution is better, and also the big elevation which you get with the scope is incredible in my opinion. It's almost 10 mil more than in the Kales. Next one is the March FX Tactical 4.5-28 by 52. Also the March is much shorter and lighter in weight. It is approximately 150 euros cheaper with the illumination, but if you don't need the illumination, the riflescope is about 400 euros cheaper. But again, the ZEISS has much more elevation, and because of the 56mm objective lens, it is definitely brighter in lower light conditions because the March has a 52mm objective lens. Next one is the Schmidt & Bender 5-25 by 56 PM2 with Illumination locking turrets. The Schmidt & Bender has the tunneling effect up to approximately 7 times zoom. The ZEISS has again much more elevation, but the Schmidt & Bender is for approximately 130 euros cheaper if you take it without any customization. But with Schmidt & Bender you can choose different turrets, more reticle options, even the color. But with all this customization, the Schmidt & Bender gets a lot more expensive. And lastly, the Zero Compromise 5-27 by 56. The ZEISS has bigger field of view and again more elevation, but the Zero Compromise has locking turrets, very good clicks in my opinion, also more reticle options, but Zero Compromise is again a little bit more expensive. Okay, all in all, I think the ZEISS is a great premium riflescope. It is from design very similar to the Hensoldt 3.5-26 by 56, which is also produced in the same facility like this one here. But I think for the first riflescope from ZEISS with a first focal plane reticle, I think the price is a bit too high. I like the way Leica did with the PRS riflescope. They really got a competitive price for their first riflescope, and I think it is the better way. Okay, this was a short video review of the ZEISS Long Range Precision 5-25 by 56. If you have any additional questions, click the link below, and if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.